Great question. So this brings me into my second video regarding adequate and affordable labs to test for Lyme disease, but also its co-infections, or as Dr. Phillips refers to it, Lyme Plus. So I mentioned to you in the last video that Dr. Phillips shared with us in his book, Chronic, that he sends the blood off to more than one lab. He writes that he prefers to use Stony Brook University's lab when it comes to testing for Lyme disease, as he feels that it's as sensitive a test as anyone out there, and Stony Brook University also takes most insurance, and they report all bans. In regards to testing for co-infections, or as Dr. Phillips and Dana Parrish refer to it as Lyme Plus, I'm going to read to you what Dr. Phillips shares with us in his book titled Chronic. Okay, so he writes, I test for almost all the other infections in the Lyme Plus family at the major chain labs such as BioReference, Quest, in Arizona it's known as Sonora Quest, LabCorp, or whichever lab takes my patient's insurance. He writes, I do this for two reasons. To save my patients money at a fully covered lab, because otherwise these tests would run into the thousands, and because I think that the sensitivity of testing is decent for these other infections included in Lyme Plus. But then he goes on to write about an exception. The other test that I feel is prone to false negatives and requires a send-out from the start is Bartonella. For this infection, he prefers North Carolina's Galaxy Diagnostics. He writes that the research team at Galaxy is composed of leaders in the field, and I've observed that their test has superior sensitivity compared to most tests on the market. This is where he sent my blood to be tested for Bartonella, and it lit up like a Christmas tree. Dr. Phillip also writes in his book that most patients diagnosed with Lyme likely harbor a mixture of infections, most of which get eclipsed by Lyme in the eyes of physicians who lack the knowledge to differentiate them. So it's great that a lot of the testing for these co-infections can be done at major chain labs that accept insurance. However, you still need an experienced Lyme doctor that knows what co-infections to test for. And again, there are two things that I would do to find a good doctor near you. Number one, go to ilads.org and find a physician near you. I did a video on how to do this. And number two, go on to Facebook and join a Lyme group in your area. So many of these folks have been through it, and they're going to direct you to the best providers in your area. And just as important, they're also going to tell you who to avoid.